Very good day, guys. Welcome again in this video series. So, last time we have learned about the anterior cranial fossa, and today we are going to learn about the middle cranial fossa. Okay. So, welcome again. I hope you are doing well wherever you are present, at your home, everywhere, at any corner of the world. So, we are meeting together again. So, without wasting our time, we'll start this middle cranial fossa. So you can see this is the middle cranial fossa. It is deeper than or at the lower level of the anterior cranial fossa, and it is deeper as compared to this, and is shaped like a butterfly. You can see this middle portion is narrow as compared to the outer portion or lateral portion, and being narrow and shallow in the middle, okay, and wide and deep on each side. So what are the boundaries? First we will see that. So just be with me. So anteriorly, there is the posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone and the anterior clinoid process and the anterior margin of the sulcus chiasmaticus. Right? Okay. Then posteriorly, there is the superior border of the petrous temporal bone. This is the petrous temporal bone and the dorsum sella of the sphenoid. So this is the dorsum sella of the sphenoid bone. Got it, guys? Then lateral boundary. So it is laterally bounded by the greater wing of the sphenoid bone, okay, and the anterior inferior angle of the parietal bone and the squamous temporal bone. So this was about the boundaries of the middle cranial fossa. Now the floor. So in the median area, there is the body of the sphenoid bone. You can see here, this is the body of the sphenoid bone. And the lateral area, it is the cerebral surface of the greater wing of the sphenoid in front. Fine. This is the cerebral surface of the greater wing of the sphenoid bone and anterior surface of the petrous temporal bone behind. So this is anterior surface of the petrous anterior to the superior border of this bone, and by the cerebral surface of the squamous temporal bone in the middle. So there are the three bones in the lateral area. These are the greater wing of the sphenoid bone, petrous temporal bone, and squamous temporal bone. Got it, guys? Okay, so now we are going to learn about all other features of this middle cranial fossa. So first, in the median area. So body of the sphenoid bone, here it is presenting first from anterior to posterior, the sulcus chiasmatis, that is also known as the optic groove. So it leads on each side to the optic canal, you can see here. So optic chiasma does not occupy this sulcus, but it lies at a higher level, well behind this sulcus. Fine, so this is not in contact with this sulcus. Then optic canal, which is leading into the orbit from the middle cranial fossa, and it is bounded laterally by the lesser wing of the sphenoid in front and behind by the two roots of the lesser wing, and medially by the body of the sphenoid. Got it? Then, then there comes the sella turcica. So this is the upper surface of the body of the sphenoid bone, which is hollowed out in the form of a Turkish saddle. Okay, so this is known as the sella turcica or Turkish saddle, and it is consisting of the tuberculum sellae in front, the hypophyseal fossa in the middle, and the dorsum sella behind. So what is the tuberculum sella? It separates the optic groove from the hypophyseal fossa, and its lateral ends form the middle clinoid process. So you have seen the anterior clinoid process. So it is the middle clinoid process, which may join with the anterior clinoid process. Fine. And this joining is forming a foramen known as the clinoid foramen. Carotidoclinoid foramen, because the internal carotid artery passes through this foramen if it is present. Okay, then hypophyseal fossa. So this is lodging the hypophyseal cerebri, means What is the hypophyseal cerebra? Hypophyseal cerebra, it is pituitary gland. So this is lying in this hypophyseal fossa. Okay. Then beneath this floor of the fossa, there is the sphenoidal air sinus. Fine. The sphenoidal air sinus is present in this body of the sphenoid bone. Then dorsum sella. So this dorsum sella is a transverse plate of the bone which is projecting upward, and it forms the back of the Turkish saddle. And the superolateral angle of this dorsum sella are expanded to form the posterior clinoid process. So where is the posterior clinoid process present? On the superolateral angle of this dorsum sella. Fine. Okay guys, so this was about the structure present in the median portion. Now the lateral area we'll see of the middle cranial fossa. So first, the lateral area is very deep and it lodges the temporal lobe of the brain. Fine. Then it is related anteriorly to the orbit, laterally to the temporal fossa here, and inferiorly to the infratemporal fossa. The infratemporal fossa is here, temporal fossa is here, orbit is here. So all these three structures are related to middle cranial fossa. Then the superior orbital fissure is there. You can see. So this opens anteriorly into the orbit. So it is bounded above by the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, below by the greater wing of the sphenoid bone, and medially by the body of the sphenoid bone. Got it, guys? Then medial end is wider than the lateral, and the long axis of the fissure is directed laterally, upward, and forward. Okay? And the lower border is marked by the small projection which provides the attachment to the common tendinous ring of the gene. Okay, commonest tendinous ring of the gene, and this ring divides this fissure into three parts. So you have to know about what are the structures entering or coming out of the orbit through these three parts of the superior orbital fissure. Fine. Okay, then we'll proceed further. The greater wing of the sphenoid. So here it presenting the structures present here. So these are first the foramen rotundum. You can see here which lies in the posterior inferior to the medial end of the superior orbital fissure. The foramen rotundum, it is going into the pterygopalatine fossa anteriorly. So you can see here it is the pterygopalatine fossa. We have seen it through norma lateralis. Okay, so this foramen rotundum is transmitting the maxillary division or second division of the trigeminal nerve, that is fifth cranial nerve. Then we can see here it is foramen ovale, posterolateral to the foramen rotundum, okay, and lateral to the lingula. Fine. So it leads inferiorly to the infratemporal fossa. Then posterolateral to this it is foramen spinosum, and it also leads into the infratemporal fossa. Then there is the emissary sphenoidal foramen or foramen visualis. So these foramina have been seen on the base of the skull here. So we have seen on the norma basalis. Okay, guys. And there is a groove for the middle meningeal vessels, which are leading forward from the foramen spinosum. The anterior and the posterior region are coming from this middle meningeal vessels. Okay. Then you can see here it is the foramen lacerum, which is lying present posterior, present at the posterior end of the carotid groove. It is the carotid groove, and posteromedial to the foramen ovale. So its upper end is bounded posterolaterally by the apex of the petrous temporal bone, anteromedially by the body of the sphenoid bone, and by posteromedial margin of the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. So anterior surface of the petrous temporal bone, you can see here. So it is having the structures, we can see. So first you see this is the trigeminal impression. Can you see? This is the trigeminal impression. lying near the apex behind the foramen lacerum, and it contains the trigeminal ganglion within a dural cave or under the cover of the dura mater. Then there is the hiatus and groove for the greater petrosal. Now you can see this is the hiatus and the groove for the greater petrosal. Now it is present lateral to the trigeminal fossa or impression. Then and it is leading into the foramen lacerum. This greater petrosal now or groove is going into the foramen lacerum. Then the hiatus and the groove for the lesser petrosal now is also present, which is lying lateral to the hiatus of the greater petrosal now, and this lead into the foramen oval, or if present, then canaliculus innominatus. If canaliculus innominatus is present, then lesser petrosal now groove will pass through that. Otherwise, it will pass through foramen oval. Got it, guys? Very good. You are getting very fast. I am very happy for you. Okay. Now further, more laterally, there is an arcuate eminence. You can see this arcuate eminence. So this is produced by the superior semicircular canal of the internal ear. Okay, superior semicircular canal is equal to arcuate eminence of the middle cranial fossa. Very good. Then tegmen tympani, it is a thin plate of the bone. You can see anterolateral to the arcuate eminence, and it forms a continuous sloping roof for the tympanic antrum. Just listen to me. It forms the continuous sloping roof for the tympanic antrum, for the tympanic cavity, and for the canal for the tensor tympani. This is the muscle known as the tensor tympani. So this is the tegmen tympani forming the roof of this three structure. Then the lateral margin of this tegmen tympani is turned downward. That is known as the downturned edge of the tegmen tympani. If you remember, I have talked about it in norma basalis. So it forms the lateral wall of the bony part of the auditory tube. That is eustachian tube का जो lateral boundary है. This is formed by this downturned edge or downturned edge of this tegmen tympani. So its lower edge is seen in the squamotympanic fissure here and dividing into petrotympanic and petrosquamous fissure. Okay, so this is the tegmen tympani. Now, more further, the cerebral surface of the squamous temporal bone. You can see, so this is the concave, and it shows the impressions for the temporal lobe and grooves for the branches of the middle meningeal vessels. Okay, so its lower border is united to the anterior surface of the petrous temporal, but traces of the petrosquamous suture are often seen even in adults. Okay, guys. So this was all about the middle cranial fossa. So what are the applied aspect of this? We'll see. So bleeding and discharge of the CSF through the ear, it can lead to, that is known as the CSF otorrhea, or bleeding through the nose, it can happen, or through the mouth due to the involvement of the sphenoid bone. Okay, and seventh and the eighth cranial nerve may be damaged if the fracture is happening through the internal acoustic meatus. So it is a semicircular. If a semicircular canal is damaged, vertigo can happen. Okay, the rounding and all this. Okay, so this vertigo can happen due to the damage of the semicircular canal, which is forming the arcuate eminence on the middle cranial fossa. Fine. And the middle cranial fossa is most commonly fractured. So the fracture line usually follows a definite course. It begins at the parietal tuber on the skull cap, okay, and it can pass through the parietal bone, the squamous temporal bone, and then petrous temporal bone, usually involving the tegmen tympani also, and frequently involving the internal acoustic meatus and foramen oval. So this was about the applied aspect of the middle cranial fossa. Okay, guys. So I think you have understood it well, but the revision is always required. It is must. Okay. Okay. So you study well So I think you have grasped it very, very well. You are all intelligent. So we will stop here now. So further we will meet for the next session, that is the posterior cranial fossa, in our next video. So guys, thank you very much to be remaining with me and for your patience. Tata, goodbye. Thank you.